Let me tell you something right from the start. There comes a moment in your life when you look around and realize that everything you're trying to build, everything you're trying to survive, everything you're trying to understand, it all comes down to how well we love, how well we lift, how well we carry each other through the storms we weren't built to face alone. And I want you to picture this with me. Imagine you're standing at the lowest moment of your life and the world is quiet and you don't know where to go or who to run to. Then out of nowhere, someone reaches out a hand, maybe a stranger, maybe someone you didn't expect, maybe someone God sent, and they say, I got you. You know that feeling, that relief, that moment when you realize, man, I'm not alone. That feeling right there. That's the work of loving and lifting each other. And family, if we're honest, we've all had moments when we needed that hand, we needed that voice. We needed somebody to see past our mask, past our fear, past our mistakes, and say, you're worth lifting up. Tonight, I want to take you on a journey, not the kind you walk with your feet, but the kind you walk with your heart. Because the real change, it don't happen out here, it happens in here. And I want to break this journey into 7 powerful chapters, 7 shifts of the soul, 7 truths about what it really means to love and lift each other. Not as duty, not as performance, but as a calling, as a mission, as a way of living that changes everything it touches. So let's walk through this together, the courage to see people beyond their struggles. Let me tell you something, one of the greatest acts of love you will ever perform in this world is learning how to truly see people. Not the version they show you, not the mask they wear, not the persona they hide behind, but the real, vulnerable, imperfect human being underneath. And the truth is, most of us walk around every day surrounded by people we think we know, people we think we understand, people we think we've figured out, but we only see a fraction of their story. We judge people based on the moment we meet them, the mood they're in, the mistake they made, or the chapter of life they happen to be stuck in. But real love, the kind of love that lifts, the kind of love that saves, the kind of love that heals, begins when you develop the courage to look deeper, to see beyond the struggle, to recognize the pain behind the personality, and to understand that every person you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. You see, life has a way of breaking people quietly, a way of wearing them down without leaving obvious scars. You would be shocked, absolutely shocked, if you knew how many people smile while hurting, laugh while drowning, perform while collapsing internally. Some people are carrying heartbreak from 10 years ago. Some are carrying trauma from childhood. Some are carrying disappointment, betrayal, fear, and doubt they're too ashamed to speak about. And the tragedy is, the world often responds to those wounds with judgment instead of compassion. We criticize what we do not understand. We distance ourselves from what makes us uncomfortable. We misunderstand people because we only see their behavior, not the pain that shapes it. But God puts a special calling on the hearts of certain people. People who learn to look beyond the surface. People who learn to listen with their spirit. People who learn to look at someone and see potential instead of problems, possibility instead of flaws, value instead of messiness. Those are the real lifters in this world. They walk into rooms and recognize who's hiding behind a forced smile. They hear the crack in someone's, I'm fine. They notice the heaviness that others ignore. And that awareness, that spiritual sensitivity, that's what transforms relationships, families, friendships, communities. Because when people feel seen, they feel safe. And when they feel safe, they finally open up. And when they open up, healing can begin. Let me tell you something from my own life. There were moments, dark, lonely moments, when I looked strong on the outside, but was battling storms nobody could see. Times when I was broke, scared, confused, and holding on by a thread. And there were people in my life who looked at my situation and made judgments. They saw the struggle, but didn't see the man. They saw the failure, but didn't see the fight. They saw the moment, but didn't see the mission. But then God sent a few people, just a few, who saw me beyond my struggle. They didn't treat me like my mistakes. They didn't define me by my downfall. They didn't limit me to my lowest point. They looked at me like they could see the greatness in me, even when I had forgotten it myself. And when someone sees greatness in you during your lowest moment, that does something to your soul. That lifts you in ways no money, no advice, no applause ever could. That's why I'm telling you today, if you want to love people, really love them. Learn to see them fully. See their battle, not just their behavior. See their wounds, not just their walls. See their potential, not just their problems. Because everybody you meet is more than what they show. Everybody you meet is carrying something you can't see. Everybody you meet is surviving something that would make you understand them completely if you knew the full story. And hear this, when you learn to see people this way, you naturally become gentler, you become kinder, you become more patient, you stop reacting so quickly. You stop taking everything personally, you stop assuming the worst. You start offering grace. You start giving people the benefit of the doubt. You start becoming the kind of person people can breathe around. And in a world like this, a world full of pressure, judgment, comparison, and expectation, being someone people can breathe around is one of the most beautiful gifts you can give. Because love isn't loud. Love isn't flashy. Love is quiet. Love is patient. Love pauses before reacting. Love looks again, deeper, softer, wiser. And when you start seeing people with that kind of heart, you start lifting them without even trying. A kind word becomes a lifeline. A moment of understanding becomes medicine. A little compassion becomes the turning point in someone's day, someone's week, someone's life. And here's the part most people forget. When you learn to see others beyond their struggle, you eventually learn to see yourself that way too. You stop defining yourself by your mistakes. You stop beating yourself up for your flaws. You stop believing the lies your struggle tries to tell you. You realize, I am more than my worst moment. I am more than what happened to me. I am more than what I'm going through right now. And once that truth settles into your heart, you rise differently. You love differently. You lift differently. So let this be your new way of walking through the world. See deeper, love fuller, lift harder, and understand that someone's whole life can change because you had the courage to see them beyond their struggle. The power of showing up when it matters most. Let me tell you something straight from the heart. Showing up is one of the purest, most powerful forms of love we will ever give or receive. A lot of people talk about love. A lot of people talk about loyalty. A lot of people talk about being there for you. But talk is cheap. Promises are easy. What separates the real ones from the rest is not what they say. It's what they do when life gets heavy, when the storm hits, when the room grows dark, and you don't even know which direction to move in. The people who show up in those moments, those are the ones who lift you. Those are the ones who love you. Those are the ones God places in your life on purpose. You see, most people show up when it's convenient, when it benefits them, when the atmosphere is happy and the energy is high. People will fill your life when you're winning, but disappear when you're wounded. They'll celebrate your success, but they'll avoid your struggle. That's why showing up, really showing up, is such a powerful expression of love. It's not glamorous. It's not always easy. It's not always comfortable, but it's real. And real love is proven in the struggle, not the sunshine. Life has a funny way of revealing who's truly in your corner. You'll go through a season where everything seems to fall apart. Your finances, your health, your peace, your plans. And you look around thinking the people closest to you will be right there. But sometimes the storm washes away the crowd, and what's left are a few souls who didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't disappear. They stayed. They showed up. And let me tell you, that's a treasure you don't take for granted. I remember going through one of the darkest chapters of my life, a moment when I felt stripped of everything. I was exhausted emotionally, broken mentally, scared spiritually. You ever hit a point where you don't even have the strength to ask for help, where you don't even know what to say? That's where I was. And do you know what changed everything for me? It wasn't someone fixing my problems. It wasn't someone giving me the perfect advice. It was someone showing up, someone saying, I'm here. You don't have to go through this alone. That man didn't bring solutions. He brought presence. And presence is powerful. Presence heals. Presence strengthens. Presence reminds you that you're not forgotten, not abandoned, not fighting alone. Sometimes the greatest miracle someone can give you is just being there, in the room, on the phone, in your corner, steady and solid when everything else is shaking. And listen, showing up is not about perfection. It's not about saying all the right things or having all the answers. It's about compassion. It's about consistency. It's about deciding your pain matters to me. Your battle matters to me. Your heart matters to me. That's love, not the Instagram version, not the highlight reel version, but the real everyday roll up your sleeves and stand beside someone kind of love. Because here's the truth, most people don't want to admit it is easy to love people from a distance. It is easy to send a text. It is easy to post a comment. It is easy to disappear into your own comfort. But showing up, that takes intention. That takes energy. That takes heart. And when you choose to show up for others, genuinely, wholeheartedly, you become the kind of person people never forget. And let me flip this for a moment, because showing up is not just about lifting others. It's also about allowing the right people to show up for you. Some of y'all have been so independent for so long that you don't even know how to receive love anymore. You've convinced yourself that asking for help makes you weak. You've trained yourself to be the strong one, the dependable one, the one who holds everything together. But hear me, even the strongest people need a place to fall. Even the strongest people need someone in their corner. Even the strongest people need to be lifted sometimes. And refusing to let people show up for you, that's how you stay exhausted, overwhelmed, and emotionally starved. You deserve support. You deserve presence. You deserve a circle that doesn't just want you when you're shining, but wants you when you're shattered. And the beautiful thing is this, when you give that kind of support, that kind of presence, life has a way of circling it back to you at the exact moment you need it most. God sends the right people to show up for you because you've shown up for others. That's the cycle of love. That's the cycle of lifting. But I'll tell you something even deeper. Showing up for people is a reflection of who you are, not who they are. Some people won't thank you. Some won't match your energy. Some won't even realize the weight you carried for them. But you don't show up because of them. You show up because that's who you are. Because your love is real. Because your loyalty is authentic. Because your character speaks louder than your ego. And when you live that way, when you choose to be present, when you choose to stand by people, when you choose to be the steady voice in the chaos, you become a vessel of God's love. You become a lighthouse for someone lost in the dark. You become a lifeline for someone who's drowning silently. And whether they tell you or not, whether they acknowledge it or not, whether they understand it or not, you make their life better. You make their journey lighter. You make their heart stronger. That's the power of showing up. It doesn't just lift others. It elevates you. It doesn't just heal them. It heals you. It doesn't just change their story. It shapes your own. So show up, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's inconvenient, even when it feels unnoticed. Because in the moments that matter most, the greatest gift you can give another human being is you. The courage to see people beyond their broken pieces. You know, one of the hardest things you will ever do in this life is learn to see people beyond the pieces they show you. Because everybody, and I mean everybody, comes to you carrying something broken, something unfinished. And most people will try to hide those pieces behind confidence, jokes, silence, anger, perfection, or distance. But if we're going to love and lift each other for real, we have to develop the courage to look past the mask and recognize the human being underneath. And let me tell you something that takes strength, that takes patience, that takes a kind of love that doesn't come naturally. You have to grow it inside yourself. I learned this the hard way. There was a young man I met after one of my shows, and he waited almost an hour in the cold just to shake my hand. When he finally got up to me, he couldn't even look me in the eyes, kept his head down, kept fumbling with his fingers. And he told me, "Mr. Harvey, I just wanted to thank you. Your words, they kept me alive." And I looked at him confused because this boy looked strong. He looked healthy. He looked like he had everything together. But then he started crying, not loud, not dramatic, quiet tears, the kind that come from a place deeper than pain, the kind you only cry when you're tired of pretending you're fine. And I realized right there, the people who look the strongest are sometimes the ones collapsing on the inside. The people who laugh the loudest might be the ones trying to drown out their own silent storms. And the people who seem distant might be fighting a battle they don't have the vocabulary to explain. That's when it hit me. If we judge people only by what they show us, we miss who they really are. Sometimes the person who snaps at you isn't rude, they're hurting. Sometimes the person who pulls away isn't cold, they're scared. Sometimes the person who doesn't ask for help isn't independent, they're hopeless. And sometimes the person who seems too strong to break already has. You have to learn to see the soul beneath the struggle. Because that's what love is. Real love, real lifting. It's not just about showing up when someone looks like they need help. It's about being present enough, aware enough, connected enough to recognize the need before they ever say a word. But here's the truth. You can't see people clearly until you've been broken yourself. You can't understand another person's quiet pain until you've lived through your own silent nights. That's why your struggle matters. It expands your compassion. Your tears teach you tenderness. Your failures teach you humility. Your loneliness teaches you how to reach out. Your battles teach you how to fight for somebody else. And when you start seeing people beyond their broken pieces, something powerful begins to shift. Not just in them, but in you. You stop reacting to people's behavior, and you start responding to their humanity. You stop holding grudges because you realize most wounds weren't meant to hurt you. They were meant to protect them. You stop giving up on people so quickly because you understand that growth takes time, patience, and grace. You start becoming the kind of person others feel safe falling apart around. And let me tell you something. That is one of the greatest gifts you can give the world. Because people don't heal in isolation. They heal in the presence of someone who sees them, accepts them, and refuses to let their brokenness define their worth. This world is loud. People are scared. Hearts are tired. Everybody's fighting something. And the greatest work you can do, the work that leaves a mark long after your time on this earth, is the work of recognizing the soul inside every single person you meet. Not the mistakes, not the attitude, not the mask, the soul. Because when you see someone beyond their broken pieces, you remind them they are more than their pain. You remind them they still matter. You remind them they are not invisible. You remind them that even the most shattered thing can be rebuilt into something stronger, something wiser, something beautiful. And sometimes that reminder becomes the turning point in someone's life. So keep your eyes soft. Keep your heart open. Keep your spirit patient. Keep your compassion deep. Because the courage to truly see people beyond what's broken, beyond what's bruised, beyond what's hidden is one of the greatest forms of love the world will ever know. The strength of holding each other up. When the weight gets heavy, there comes a moment in every person's life when the weight they're carrying becomes just a little too heavy. And it doesn't always happen with warning signs. Sometimes the strongest people you know, the ones who always smile, always show up, always act like everything's fine, wake up one morning and feel like the whole world has been sitting on their chest. And do you know what's sad? Most of the time, nobody ever knows. Nobody ever hears the quiet pleas. Nobody ever sees the effort it takes just to get out of bed, to put on that brave face, to keep going when their spirit is running on empty. That's why this step matters. This is where the real work of loving and lifting each other shows up, not when life is easy, but when someone's world starts cracking at the seams. Because you don't truly measure love by how loud you shout it. You measure it by how deeply you show up when someone can't stand on their own. I've seen people go through storms silently because they didn't want to bother anyone. They didn't want to feel like a burden. They didn't want to be the reason someone else had to rearrange their life. But you know what I've learned? Everybody needs someone. Even the people who look unshakable need a shoulder. Even the people who carry others need a place to lean. Even the motivators, the encouragers, the helpers, they all need rescue from time to time. And if we're not paying attention, we'll miss the signs. Holding someone up doesn't always mean fixing their problems. It doesn't mean you have to have the right words. It doesn't mean you have to know how to heal what's hurting them. Sometimes the greatest form of strength is to simply sit next to someone and refuse to let them drown alone. It's saying, you don't have to explain anything. I'm not going anywhere. It's listening without judgment. It's staying without trying to control. It's being present even when the person can't articulate what they need. I remember talking to an older man who lost his wife after 53 years of marriage. And I asked him, what was the hardest part about losing her? He said, people kept telling me to stay strong, but I didn't need strength. I needed someone to let me be weak. That hit me hard, because that's what most people are desperate for, the permission to crumble without being criticized, the grace to cry without being rushed to stop, the safety to fall apart in front of someone who won't walk away. That's what it means to hold someone up. You become the place where they can lay down their armor. You become the reminder that vulnerability isn't a flaw, it's the pathway to healing. You become the reassurance that they don't have to be okay to be loved. But let me tell you something else. Holding someone up doesn't just strengthen them, it strengthens you too. It builds your compassion muscle. It develops your emotional awareness. It teaches you how to step outside of your own pain and be present for someone else. And sometimes in helping someone stand, you accidentally lift yourself too. Because when you see the resilience of another person, when you witness their courage to keep going despite the weight they carry, it reminds you of your own strength. It reminds you that you're capable of surviving the unthinkable too. Now, does this mean you can save everyone? No. You're not meant to carry the weight of the world. You're not responsible for everybody's healing. But you are responsible for kindness. You are responsible for compassion. You are responsible for being the kind of person who doesn't turn away when someone is breaking right in front of them. Sometimes holding someone up is as simple as checking in, a text, a call, a moment of presence. Sometimes it's noticing that their smile looks a little forced. Sometimes it's seeing the exhaustion they're trying to hide. Sometimes it's the quiet. Are you sure you're okay? At the right moment. And sometimes it's saying nothing at all, just sitting beside them in the silence that feels too heavy for them to carry alone. This world becomes lighter when we lift each other. It becomes safer when we hold each other. It becomes softer when we choose compassion over judgment. And every time you choose to hold someone up when the weight gets too heavy, you're not just helping them survive. You're reminding them they're not alone in this life. And that right there is one of the most powerful forms of love we will ever give or receive.